In this video, we will talk about operations and inverse operations. These are used to help in solving equations. So let's take a look. So previously, we talked about the idea of solving. And the idea there is you're trying to get the variable by itself. And here, what we did is we got the x by itself by getting rid of the 3. Well, today in this video, we're going to talk about, well, how do we do that? Well, we do that by using what we call inverse operations, which you see in the yellow. You kind of already know this. I'm just going to kind of unpack this more. So we kind of know that +3 and -3 cancel. 3 minus 3 is 0. So let's take a look. First, let's talk about the idea of operations. We've kind of heard that before. We operate a vehicle. We talk about driving a vehicle. The formal term for that may be operate a vehicle. And what that means is you're doing something. You're doing something with the vehicle. Well, we're doing stuff with math. We're doing stuff with the numbers. And that's what I want to look at now. So a mathematical operation is doing stuff like you do stuff with a car, but with numbers. Now, what I want you to focus on here is not this really kind of wacky explanation of what a math operation is. What I want you to focus on is you're given 2 inputs, you're given 2 numbers, and then you're going to do something with those 2 numbers and get a single output. Let's see what I mean by that. So here you're given 2 numbers, and then the operation, the thing that you do with them is called adding, and you combine them together to get a single output. 7, there's your answer. By output, I mean answer. And then you can also be given 2 numbers, and the thing you're told to do with them is to subtract. And then you get a single number. That's your output. So an operation is doing things with 2 numbers to get a single number. That's what we're going to focus on in terms of solving. So let's just talk more about this adding and subtracting and how they work together. So the operations we're focusing on are addition and subtraction. So let's talk about these, and then I'll connect this to the equation and the solving in a moment. So 3 minus 3 is 0. And then when you add 0, 2 plus 0, you just get a 2. It doesn't change the number. Let's kind of combine that. Here I have 3 minus 3. That gives me 0. Oh, looky here. I have 2 plus 0, and that gives me 0 or 2. Oops. That gives me 2. You can switch them. So I can do a -3 and then a +3, and that's still going to give you 0. 2 plus 0, and 2 plus 0 is 0. Well, the same thing happens with x. Just like 2 plus 0 is 0, x plus 0 is x. 5 plus 0 is 5. 8 plus 0 is 8. The 0 just disappears. And what are you left with? X. Now we can see how this looks in a more equation-looking thing. We have x plus 3 minus 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. And now you get x plus 0. The 3's disappeared, and all you're left with is x. And so what you're going to see in the next video is something like this, where you have an equation and we have a -3 and a -3, but let's see what happens with those. I have 3 minus 3, that's 0. X plus 0, that's what I have left. And then on the other side, I have 5 minus 3, which is 2. And that 0 disappears. And so I have x equals 2. So the 3 plus 3 and the minus 3 canceled and went away. And now my variable is by itself. So let's take a look at that in a little more detail. So addition and subtraction are operations because you use them to do something with two numbers and then you get a single number. So they're operations, but they're called inverse operations because they make each other disappear. You end up with 0. And then when you add 0, the 0 disappears. So we call these inverse operations. Let's explore these in some equations now. So here's another equation that has plus and a minus. You have a +1 minus 1. The +1 minus 1 cancel and you get 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's what I mean by canceling. And then when you add 0, that 0 just disappears. The x is by itself. You have solved the equation. Let's look at another example. So we have a minus and a plus. The minus comes first, but that's okay. When you do -5 plus 5, they cancel, meaning you end up with 0. And then x plus 0 is just x. And now you have solved. So coming up, we will actually look at the steps. We will actually solve equations using addition and subtraction. Now that we understand that addition and subtraction are inverses, they cancel each other, become 0, and that 0 just disappears. And so we'll actually do the steps that use the inverse operations to get the variable by itself. That's coming up in the next video.